Sustainability has become a buzzword recently, with worries over climate change, the rural economy and food safety key voter concerns. Aiming to drive forward the sustainability agenda is Helen Ghosh, Permanent Secretary of the Department for Environment, Food and Rural Affairs. Helen, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Now, a diverse department, a huge remit. It's not an easy task, this. How do you achieve it?
You're absolutely right, Juliet. It's a very exciting time to be in DEFRA. We have two high-level objectives which we're trying to achieve. The first is around avoiding dangerous climate change. The second is what we call enhancing and maintaining the natural environment. That means enhancing and maintaining the landscape, wildlife, biodiversity, the quality of our water, the quality of our air. So as you say, it's a very broad remit. I think the exciting thing for us is that we've got lots of ways that we can achieve that. We can engage the public in how they behave, in the choices they make, in the things they buy. We can take measures to regulate through either domestic law or through European law. Or one very important tool that we can use is setting standards.
In terms of the environment, global warming is possibly the greatest worry of our time right now. How can standards help address the rise in the levels of greenhouse gases, for example?
They can help us within an overall framework. As you know, we've got a variety of ways of achieving reductions in greenhouse and particularly carbon emissions in the UK. Two things, I think, from the standards point of view will help us achieve the objectives. One is the environmental management systems, which are actually an international set of standards, which among other things help industry monitor, large and small industry, its carbon emissions. But secondly, standards enable us to set common and reliable measurement systems. So there is a separate standard that helps us with measuring carbon emissions that we know we can rely on.
DEFRA has a reputation for being one of Whitehall's biggest regulators. Do you think standards could possibly act, in some cases, as an alternative?
Absolutely. In keeping with the government's objective to reduce the level of regulation, the burden of regulation, particularly on business, DEFRA has a very ambitious target, but one we're well on the way to achieving, of reducing our overall administrative burden on business by 25% in the next 5 years. And standards have a real role to play in that. Let's take an example. A good example is the kind of environmental management systems that the British Standards Institution have set up. What that enables businesses to do, rather than respond to regulation about their environmental footprint, about the amount of carbon that they may emit, to look holistically at how they operate through an environmental management system and that way self-regulate, which can be of benefit both to them in terms of their costs, their overheads, but also in terms of the environmental outcomes that we're trying to achieve. So that's a real win-win.
We've talked about businesses there. Do you think there's something fundamental here about changing the way people, the way all of us behave?
Absolutely. We spend a lot of time in DEFRA thinking about who our customers are. And we think probably the most important group of customers that we have, partners in achieving our objectives, are the 60 million people who live in the United Kingdom. And what we've got to do is enable them to make the right kind of choices about their lifestyle, about the things they buy, to help us all achieve our environmental outcomes. The example I'd use is that perhaps 10, 15 years ago, if you walked into an electrical store, you wouldn't have the faintest idea what was the best dishwasher, washing machine, iron to buy in terms of its environmental impact. But now all those kinds of products have environmental gradings on them, and you can see people editing their choices, buying things that, again, back to the win-win idea, are best for the environment and keep their own energy costs down. So standards will give us a guide to what's the best product to buy to achieve all those environmental objectives.
Yes, it is this striking a balance, isn't it, between economic activity, social progress and environmental responsibility?
Absolutely, and that's at the heart of what sustainable development is all around. What we need to do is work with the grain of the economy, of business, of individual choice, to enable people to make the right choices that suit them economically, whether you're a small business, a large business, an individual customer, and environmentally. And that's where standards can really help.
Helen Ghosh, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.